Hi, book nerds. Welcome back to book club. This is a bit of a change of scenery. I am just kind of going through it. It's been a while since I've recorded, and my room that I normally record in, a lot of stuff is happening. But today for book club, we are going to be talking about Rainbow Rowell's Slow Dance. I love this book. I'm very excited to talk about it. And it has a back of the blurb, which y'all know I love the back of the book blurb. So let's get into it. Shiloh Butler was supposed to get out of North Omaha. She used to sit out on the front porch with her best friend Carrie and plot their escape. Shiloh was going to be an actress. She had a scholarship to a good school, and Carrie was laser-focused on the Navy. Sharp, stoic, golden-eyed Carrie. Thin as a stick of gum and poor as dirt. He was probably the most decent person Shiloh has ever known. She hasn't spoken to him in 14 years. When Shiloh gets an invitation to a high school friend's wedding, Carrie is the first and only thing on her mind. She desperately wants to see him again, but she doesn't know if she can bear being seen by him. What would Carrie think of Shiloh at 33? A divorced mom living in the same house she grew up in, someone who works behind the desk, not on stage? Would Carrie even want to see Shiloh after all this time? After everything? The answer, it turns out, is yes. In her triumph return to adult fiction, Rainbow Rowell has written a love story so honest and human, so cathartic, you could feel it in your bones. Slow Dance is a power ballad of a book brimming with Rowell's signature compassion and wit. It's deeply affecting and profoundly romantic. I'm so excited. Let's get into it. I always say it's a little bit difficult to talk about Rainbow Rowell's writing style and like how she plots her books, because especially for this book, because there is several instances where chapters are in a before setting, where the main characters, Carrie and Shiloh, are in high school, they're in college. We get a lot of before scenes in some chapters that parallel to what's happening in their present, and their present is like, I think it's like the 2000s, I think is what it is. So it's not like in modern day. It's like back in the early 2000s, I think is their present. So it's very fun, very interesting to read. It really does give the book depth, but it also makes it harder to talk about. So I'm not really going to try and talk much about them going, flashbacking to the past and making that connections. I'm just going to talk about what's going on in like the present timeline. Story starts off like how the back of the blurb mentioned. Shiloh is heading off to a wedding. She has her kids going with her ex-husband for the night. She gets all dressed up. She's wondering if Carrie's gonna be there. She misses the ceremony. She gets to the reception. There goes the car. She gets to the reception and she meets up with a bunch of other high school friends. She meets up with the groom. She meets the bride, and there across the way she sees Carrie. And all of her thoughts and feelings just kind of bubble up back to the surface. Carrie sees her, walks over, and they start reconnecting slowly, saying hi, hello, small talk, how have you been, what do you do for work, and all that kind of stuff. And they just end up talking the entire night. They dance a little bit on the floor, and they're just having a really good time. And at the end of the reception, when their friend Mikey and his new wife leave, they decide they're also going to leave, and Shiloh invites him back over to her house. And they get back to their house and try to have some fun, sexy time. But unfortunately, Shiloh, she gets lost in her head a lot. She has a lot of anxiety. She overthinks everything. She doesn't really want to be perceived. She just kind of wants to be there. And Carrie's a gentleman. He's like, wait, I don't have like any precaution. I don't have a condom. And she's like, it's fine. I got my tubes tied. Like, it doesn't matter. We're losing the momentum. We're losing it. We can't lose this now. And Carrie's like, what do you mean we're going to lose the momentum? Nothing's lost. We don't have to do this. She's like, no, we have to do this. She's like, because like, we're never going to get this again. And they end up having an argument. Like, he ends up getting redressed. She ends up getting redressed. They're arguing back and forth because, as we find out in a flashback in one of the chapters, like, their first time was together when they were in college. And there was a lot of miscommunication. And that argument is happening right then and there, late at night, while they're both half naked at Shiloh's mom's house. So this is happening, and Shiloh's mom comes in and be like, I have a gun, I'm hearing a man yelling in there, are you okay, sweetheart? And she's like, it's fine, it's Carrie. And she's like, Carrie? And Shiloh's mom's like, Carrie, your friend from high school. She's like, oh, don't fight with him. You can't make old new best friends. And it's just awkward because Carrie's like, well, I tried to explain, and they're just having this whole big argument about it. And Carrie leaves. Shiloh goes to bed. The next morning, Shiloh sees that Carrie left his wallet over there, so she heads over to Carrie's place where his mom lives, because that's where he's staying, and hands back his wallet, which he's thankful for. But she also notices that his mom needs to head out somewhere and they don't have a working car, so she offers to drive them, and she has her kids and everything. So Carrie gets to meet Shiloh's kids, and she does errands with Carrie and Carrie's mom with her kids, and they're kind of chatting and things seem to be going good. We kind of get a look into what her children are like, how she's like Shiloh. We get to learn a little bit about the ex-husband and how much of a piece of shit he is. But he's a good father, so perks, I guess. And when she drops off Carrie and his mom back at their house, Carrie and Shiloh are like, let's talk. Like, come over to my house and we'll have an actual conversation. And later that night, he does come over. The kids are put to bed. Shiloh's mom is now, out and about. She went to bed as well afterward. And they're actually sitting down, they're having a proper conversation. They're talking about what happened in college, about them, having sex for the first time, losing their virginity to each other, and then kind of starts up the argument again, which basically is just, hey, I loved you, why didn't you tell me to stay with you? And she's like, well, I loved you, but I'm not going to make you stay with me when you had all these plans to go off to the Navy. And it's just kind of rebuilding this argument of that you used me for sex, you used me as a safety, and she's over here like, I only had sex with you because you are safe and I do love you and we do care for each other. And they're having this argument again. It's essentially the same argument of when they were in the bedroom. And Carrie finally says, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I should have told you that I loved you. I want to stay with you. If you didn't want me to go to the Navy, I would have stayed there with you. And I'm sorry I let my actions try to tell you that. And she's over here like, I'm sorry too. If you had told me that back then, I would say that I'm really scared of being, in a relationship, of being seen by you. I do love you. I do care for you. And I didn't want you to leave, but I didn't want to hold you back. And they're just kind of sitting there like, 14 years we haven't been talking to each other because of that misunderstanding. And now it's like they have their own lives. Carrie's in the Navy. He gets deployed off to sea. Shiloh's a divorced mother with 2 kids, and she lives in her mother's house. And it's just heartbreaking because over here, like, did we miss our chance? Did we mess up? And they kind of both come to the agreement of, we don't want to stop talking to each other. But I'm a divorced mom of 2 kids, and you're going back to the Navy in 2 days. So they just kind of have this tentative agreement of like, we're going to try and be friends again. And Carrie goes back off. They swapped phone numbers. And that is half of the book. I'm not lying. Like, I had to relook through, kind of get like, all right, I read through the book. Where does that end? It's literally half of this book. All of that I just said is half this book. It's great. I love it. So, after all that, a little bit of time passes. Carrie goes back to the Navy. He's deployed and all that. And then one day, Shiloh gets a call from Carrie saying that his mother called him. She fell in the house. She's hurt. She's injured. And Carrie is asking Shiloh to go, like, make sure she's okay, to go help her, which of course Shiloh does, because she's like, oh my god, yes, your mother is hurt and injured. She goes over. She takes his mom to the hospital. She lets Carrie know what's going on. His niece ends up finding out and heading over because he has other family members, but he has a very complicated relationship with his family. He only seems to have like a good relationship with his mom because he cares about her so much. And Carrie does end up coming back to their town so that way he could double check up on his mom. He has emergency leave, and he's just making sure that everything's going to be okay with her. And throughout this time that he's here, he's double checking up on his mom, and he is spending time with Shiloh as well. He's having dinner with her almost every night. He's engaging with the kids. He's having dinner with the kids, and her, Carrie, and another one of the friends, the one that got married, Mikey, they all go to an arcade like how they did when they were teenagers, kind of to catch up, relive some old times. And Carrie takes Shiloh back to her house and he kisses her on the cheek or on the lips. He just gives her a little goodnight kiss. And unfortunately, Shiloh's daughter sees her and she freaks out about it. Damn, dude, loud truck. And her daughter freaks out about it. She tells her mom that she's not allowed to do that. She's not supposed to do that. And Carrie feels really guilty about it because he did not want to hurt her children in that way. And Shiloh is unsure what to do. She was going to wait a few weeks to text Carrie to ask about his mom, see how well she's doing, because Carrie had to go back out on sea and on the ocean. And during this part of the book, it's very interesting because it's a lot of big giant time skips as we see Carrie and Shiloh's relationship kind of one step forward, two steps back, but improve drastically, where instead of texting, they start emailing each other because Carrie doesn't get great cell reception on the ships. So they start emailing back and forth, and Shiloh starts sending him care packages. They start talking about their lives, what the divorce was like, what living on the ship is like, and they start becoming really great friends, start getting back into that groove, you know, sending each other care packages and pictures and merch from the ship, and talking about the nitty-gritty details of their life, how well Carrie's mother is now doing, issues with their families, issue with the ex-husband, and how the kids are doing, and just kind of getting back into that rhythm of their life of like, we are really great friends again. And I really like this section of the book because it's such an interesting way to show the passing of time. And Carrie comes back to their hometown, comes to visit, and he visits Shiloh while she's working at, oh my goodness, my water. So he comes to visit while Shiloh is working at her theater, which is basically for like kids productions and stuff. And they have this moment where she's like, hey, I gotta work late. And he's like, oh, it's fine, I'll stay, I'll watch the show. She's like, will you actually help me be in the show and like come be like a side character? So he helps, and the show goes great. He really misses like performing with her and being with her, and he kind of has this realization of like, he does not want to really leave her. He really loves her and cares for her. And while they're taking off the makeup and the costumes from the show, the theater production, he just kind of asks the big question right then and there of like, hey, I love you, will you marry me? And Shiloh reasonably freaks out because she's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, you did not just ask me to marry you. She's like, I have kids, you're in the Navy, we can't live together, we've never dated, like, what the heck? And she's freaking out, and he's feeling really rejected. He's like, oh, okay. She's like, no, let me see the ring. Hang on, like, let me say the ring. I'm not going to say no to you. And he's like, so what's going on? She's like, yes, but I think this is a bad idea. And he's like, all right. Yes, but you think this is a bad idea. It's still a yes. We're going to get married. We're engaged now. And they're engaged. It's really, it was so funny, and it's so sweet of how they got engaged. I really loved it a lot. So now it's kind of thing of like, okay, we got to tell our family at some point, but right now we're just going to keep it between us. We're not going to say anything about it. So the story continues with Carrie finally getting his mom's house on the market. His mom's going to move into a retirement home where she could be taken care of properly. And so now they got to clean out the house to sell it. So they're cleaning out the house, and before they clean up the house, we have this 4 to 5 chapter long sex scene essentially that happens. And it's just Shiloh freaking out about the fact that they're engaged, that they have all these issues in their lives and these problems. And they finally do end up having sex. And it's just really interesting. There is a lot of like character development. It is like a really sweet scene. But I also am like, this is a little interesting and a little weird. Like, this is like a 4 to 5 like sweet, syrupy, freaking out anxiety sex scene where she's thinking about, you know, sex with her ex-husband and what that was like and comparing it to Carrie. And I just think it's weird. I loved it either way, but I'm just over here like, okay, this is a very interesting way to write this. A little weird, a little odd for my taste, but you know what? Who am I to judge, you know? You can write however you want, Rainbow. I love it. I just think it's weird. So, then they start cleaning up the house to sell the house, and he's arguing with his family members about it because his family members want to keep the house. They don't want to sell it. And he's like, no, this is the only, like, realistic thing to do. So they're cleaning up the house. They're having their little, like, bitch fits about it. And when he's finally like, all right, the house is going to be able to be on the market, he goes to his mom and he wants her to sign over power of attorney for, like, money-wise, because he's the only one that's responsible with money. He keeps sending her money. And she's like, but you're never going to come back home. You're never going to come visit. And Shiloh's like, no, he is going to come visit because we're getting married and I'm staying here. So his mom signs off the power of attorney. They get the house sold. He feels happy. He feels relaxed. Her mom eventually finds out because after they have sex, she's like, hey, are you just platonically fucking him? She's like, no, we're engaged. It happened quickly. It happened fast. And I really love him and I'm happy now. And then for the last little bit of the book, we just kind of see Shiloh telling her kids that, you know, Carrie's her boyfriend, they're dating, they're engaged, just slowly getting them used to it. And then Carrie also trying to be like, all right, we could go do this, we could live here, come and visit me, I'll take you to California, I'll take you by the ocean, and just kind of merging their lives really slowly, getting Shiloh's mom in a retirement home so they could sell the house and live somewhere else, and just very carefully and slowly building their way up to getting married. And we finally get to the marriage chapter of, like, they're at the wedding, and Shiloh's really happy, Carrie's really happy, the kids are happy with the arrangement, and they kind of have a little wink nod in the chapter of, like, oh, this whole reception and party and ceremony is just for show. We actually got married at a courthouse 2 days after we got engaged, basically, because Carrie and I couldn't wait, but we're putting up the pretenses. And I thought that was just so funny and cute. And the book ends with another flashback to the past where Carrie ran a couple blocks down to grab a hat that flew off of Shiloh's head. And it was very cute, very sweet. And that is the story of Rainbow Rowell's Slow Dance. I really enjoyed this story. I love reading Rainbow Rowell. I love how she writes her characters. I love how just, oh God, the story itself, there's so much in this book that I have not said. And there is so much that needs to be explored and talked about, and I just love it so much, but it's so difficult for me to articulate it because then I would just be basically reading the book page by page for you guys. But overall, my personal thoughts, I really enjoyed this book. I really love how she writes. I try to emulate some of her writing style in my own writing without trying to full on copy her because I can't actually copy her. I am way too descriptive and she's so dialogue based. It's very interesting, but I love how she writes. I love the characters. The story is just so, God, they were right. It really does feel cathartic, but it's also, it took me like a few times to be like, wow, these are really like emotionally depth characters where it's like trying to describe their emotions, their anxiety, their fears, and like just how happy they are. It's almost difficult because they have such incredible depth to it. I just love it so much. And that's the only thing I can really say is that I just really love this book so much. I love all of her writing because I feel like she does this with every character she has. And I've read a couple of her books. I reread a couple of her books. And 5 out of 5 stars for Slow Dance. I'm very excited for her new book, Cherry Baby, that's coming out. And I have not gotten my hands on a copy yet, even though it's already out. So eventually I will get my hands on her latest book. And I have a couple more books of hers that I do own. I own Carry On. I own Eleanor and Park. Oh God, what is the short stories that she wrote? I believe it's called like Scattered Showers or something. I also own that. Obviously I own Fangirl. And I have Slow Dance, and I hope to get Cherry Baby. I'm going to be getting Attachments soon as well, and hopefully Landline, which is her 2 other novels. And I really love this book. And I'm so happy that you guys are watching this and being on this journey of book club with me. Next week's book, I will put it up on the screen somewhere. I don't know where, but it will be up on the screen for next week's book. And hopefully it will actually be a video that comes out next week. I'm so sorry for leaving you guys high and dry for 2 months, and hopefully I will be able to get back on track with it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next chapter. Bye!